Hello and welcome to the latest episode. It's Lydia from Hen Hill Cut Flowers here. You're joining me on a Friday evening and I'm up on the field and it's tea time. So come with me as I feed the ducks and the chickens. Hey guys. Hello. There we go. There we go. Happy birdies. I have so much to tell you. So, I've been saying to you about harvesting seed for ages and I had this plan and Mo's in the feed bin. Thank you, Mo. And I was telling you, we need to go and do this, etc., etc. Well, guess what happened? I managed to get everything in apart from the sweet peas. So I thought, never mind, I'll go and get them. And I went to have a look at them. We'd had a tiny bit of rain, but I mean, like the smallest amount of rain imaginable. And a couple of the pods had actually split open. And I had a closer look, and most of the pods have split open and the seeds have just exploded everywhere. They've just gone. I can't see them. So two things are likely to happen. One is that the mice will just eat all of them, which is probably the most likely thing to happen, quite honestly. And the second thing is that they might well just germinate where they've landed and they may or may not make it through the winter. So a little bit of an accident there, and yeah, bit of a mistake, because out of all of the seeds, the sweet peas were the most expensive and probably the ones that I wanted to actually harvest properly and make sure that I'd actually got them. And it's not like I haven't had long enough to do it, because we've had, a whole summer of heat waves and drought, but there we go. It's just one of those things. So as I said, we had a couple of showers on Thursday, nothing substantial, but enough just to kind of get rid of the dust and bring the overall temperatures down, which is amazing. And everything just looks refreshed and a little bit brighter. And the smell was absolutely incredible. I can't tell you. It was just amazing. The smell of fresh rain on dry ground. Oh, it was just magical. And my wish came true. If you listen to the last episode, you'll know that I was dreaming of wearing a jumper with really long sleeves, and I've actually been able to do that because I found it's turned quite cold. I think I've become so acclimatized to the heat that the minute it dropped below about 25, I was like, oh my goodness, I need a jumper. So be careful for what you wish for there. And the other thing to mention is a reminder to check gutters, downpipes, all that kind of stuff. Because we haven't had any rain since about May, I haven't really been even thinking about gutters and drain pipes and whatnot. And we've had quite a bit of leaf fall. I've got this massive woodland right adjacent to my field. And a lot of the leaves have got a bit dry, a bit crispy, and some of the trees have started to shed early. So the gutters have got a few bits and pieces and just general detritus that's fallen into the gutters or the downpipes over the course of the summer, that because we haven't had any rain, absolutely nothing has been flushed through. So mental note to myself, and I'm telling you as well, to just double check that all the gutters have got no leaves in them, no bits and pieces, no sort of seed pod casings or bits of twigs or any other rubbish in them, and that the downpipes are all running clear as well. Very important. And the other thing is that the downpipes are actually going into whatever the storage container is at the bottom, so an IBC or a water butt, because I noticed this morning that the downpipe that goes from the old duck house into IBC3, for some reason, I have no idea why, I had actually moved. Oh, I know why. It's when I put that pump into IBC3 to be able to do all the watering with the hoses, I had moved the downpipe out of the way so that I could fit the pump in, because it's a decent sized pump. And then I hadn't actually put the downpipe back into the top of IBC3. So that little bit of rain that we had yesterday on Thursday just didn't go anywhere. So very silly mistake. Anyway, it's all set up properly now. But the other thing to check, and this is also really important, is that all the taps are actually closed. This is a funny one, because you'd think it would be standard practice that one would just leave them in the off position all of the time. But it's well worth checking, to be honest. Some of my water butts that I was given, the off position is in a really weird position. and it's not sort of a crossways direction when it's closed, which you would think that would be the indication when you look at it that it would be closed, but it's not. They're sort of in a forward position, and that is closed. So I often look at them and go, oh, you're open, I'll just close you, but it's not. I'm actually opening them. And I've got four of them, and they're the opposite way to everything else that I have on the field. So I just have to remember with those ones which the actual off position in. The other news that I've got is my first Aster Flamingo at Sunset is flowering, and it's absolutely incredible. Not very big, as in the stem length is fine, but the head isn't very big. But quite honestly, I'm really not judging them because we've had, an absolute killer of a summer. So I'm just pleased that they're flowering at all. And it's the first time I've ever grown these. Again, a miracle that I've managed to get these things right. And they are so pretty. Like, the color is gorgeous. So this year I went with a kind of whites and pinks with a bit of an apricot theme, just to sort of cover maximum number of bases, I thought, with wedding and event flowers. These things are a sort of apricot-y pink color, and they're absolutely amazing. They remind me of an incurved chrysanthemum. So not the horrible garage chrysanths that you see with like a flat top. I mean, I like those anyway, but this is much more like the incurving chrysanth. So it's got these sort of lots and lots and lots of petals, which are not unlike dahlia petals, actually, that all curve inwards. Really, 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 really gorgeous. If you haven't tried them before, I recommend them. They're amazing. So mine was called Aster Flamingo at Sunset, which, quite honestly, anything with the word flamingo in, I'd have bought it. Like any product in the world with the word flamingo in it, to me, I love flamingos, one of my favorite birds. So I'd have bought them. But they are really, really lovely. Now, one of the questions that I've had this week is still around the annuals thing, which I think has it's interesting that there's a lot of interest around this. And the question was, if I'm not doing an annuals in 2027, am I going to go big on perennials instead? And if so, which ones? And the answer is yes, I am. So what I'm planning to do, and I think I've mentioned this already, is increase my number of roses that I have, because I think roses are going to be absolutely brilliant up here for me. And there's something that I'm really, really crazy about in the first place. So I just want to definitely get lots and lots more of those. I've got about 60 already. I need probably double that at least again. But the other thing that I want to focus on is definitely perennials. They do very well up here. Once they're established, obviously they do need some babysitting over the winter and in the spring following the year that they've been planted. But once they get going, and once they're in the soil where it's been cultivated already, they do very, very well. So I'm going to get some more. I'm going to grow some from seed, but I'm going to get some more plugs, tiny plugs, which I tend to get from J. Parker's. I bought some last year. I bought Physostegia, Veronicastrum, Veronica, Geums, possibly something else, I'm not sure. And they do come as very, very small plugs. I think they're about 5 centimeters. They're really, really tiny, but as long as you keep an eye on where you put them in, because I put mine in and didn't label them for ages, then I couldn't find them because they were herbaceous perennials and they vanish. But as long as you label them properly, and I plant mine nice and close together, because when they're that small, you've got years before you actually have to divide them or move them. So I would really like to increase the stock of those. The Physostegia have been lovely this year, and I have actually bought some Physostegia seed. So I did a seed order a couple of months ago. I'm not quite sure what possessed me. I think I must have still just been excited about the year ahead, and I was always going to try autumn sowing anyway. So just a few from plugs, and then the bulk of it I'm going to do from seed, which is like any minute now. I know lots and lots of people have already started, and I'm always behind the curve, so I'm not even going to worry about that anymore. But I'm seeing everybody sowing stuff like mad, and I need to get on the case for that. I definitely want to do some more Achillea the Pearl from seed. This was a wonderful, wonderful plant that I grew from seed in 2025. They flowered quite short. I planted them in the wrong place, like in the middle of a path, because I didn't think they'd do anything year one. And they did. They flowered, and then, of course, well, they grew. They all fell over, and then they all flowered sideways, and the stems are really short. So I moved them all into a dedicated Achillea the Pearl bed and then netted and staked them. And this year they've been absolutely superb. They're so, so, so pretty. And they're just kind of spreading everywhere in true Achillea style. They're a little bit like feverfew, so very small, very delicate, very pretty, not like the bog standard Achillea that one normally grows. So I'm definitely going to do those again. What else? Phytostegia, which I've said, Veronicastrum from Plugs, Cephalaria. So this is the giant scabious, the buttery yellow one. Definitely going to grow some more of those. I've already bought the seed for that. They were absolutely amazing, really huge. And I need to do them this year because the ones I did in 2025, they didn't flower until 2026. But boy, when they did, they were absolutely worth it. And I need a ton more of those. The ones I've got now, they're over 6 foot tall. They're absolutely extraordinary. Oh, sorry, there's a ambulance or fire engine going past. Yep. Okay. Also Perovskaya. Now I bought some 9 centimeter plants this year and sold all of the stems to a florist. They're going to go in the ground when I can actually get the hori hori in the ground, and they should just get bigger and bigger and develop into really, really lovely plants. But they are wildly expensive to buy unless you can get them small, like I managed to with my 9 centimeters, not 2 litre pots, because they're just too expensive. So I have bought some seed for them, see how I get on with that. Scabious, more scabious. So this year scabious has not been brilliant, to be honest. It started off looking quite promising and then it's sort of gone downhill a bit. They've all just panicked, and I thought they would be okay because they're just sort of field scabious and they're quite tough, and I thought they'd be quite bomb proof, but even they had their limits this year. So they flowered incredibly quickly and just really, really small plants. And I'm going to try and overwinter them again, like I did with my 2025 scabious, which overwintered for me. But because these guys are so small to start with, I'm not particularly hopeful that they're going to survive the winter, but we will see. So I'm going to sow some more in the autumn now and see how I get on with them. I did try a new variety which was called Fondant Fancies, which isn't actually a variety, it's just a mixture of different seeds, and they were kind of all different pastel. If you imagine like a kid's birthday party, like all the colors, the pinks and the blues and the yellows and whites and everything. But very disappointing because about 90% of them have come up white, and I've already got white ones. So I was really after the pinks and the yellows and those sort of really pretty, interesting colors, which I didn't get. So I won't bother with those again. I will just grow individual colors, I think. I've also got a lot of foxglove seeds that need sowing. I bought the, what's it called? Apricot something. Anyway, I've got masses of those. And then I've got a whole dedicated foxglove bed, and they kind of just do their own thing. They just sort of keep doing their own thing in there. So I sort of leave them to it, really. And I've also bought some Verbena hastata seeds. Now, Verbena hastata is a perennial, and it's got a decent enough stem length on it, and then lots of stems from one plant and a nice spike, sort of line spike flower. So I thought they might be a useful addition. So I'll see how I get on with those. And of course, the other big push is for the roses, like I already mentioned. But of course, the trouble with that is that they do take years to get to a decent size. So I'm thinking around how I can try and get some larger roses so that I'm not buying. What I don't want to do is buy like all the 2-year-old stock that is advertised. You know, everything that you see, or a lot of what you see on the internet, is all 2-year-old bare roots. And I would like something that's about 3 years old, or somebody that will lift the bare roots for me and not cut all of the roots off, because they often do this when you get this bag of sticks through the post in between November and about April. Although quite honestly, April's quite late to be putting them in the ground. And you'll get a bag of sticks, and there's obviously no foliage, no leaves, nothing on the actual stem that would be above the ground. But what you often find is that they've trimmed all the roots in order to minimize the packaging, so that you just, have a pile of sticks and you don't have this massive sort of root ball, if you like. And what I would like to find is somewhere that's not going to cut all the roots off for me, because I don't care about the size of the hole that I have to dig. But what I don't want is for the things to have to wait years and years and years for them to put on lots of massive root growth that was there already, but somebody's cut off in the field in order to put it in the post. So it's not necessarily a question of going to look for like a 5 or 6 year old plant. It's really just something that's got a great root system on it that nobody's hacked it to pieces. Now, tonight's plant profile is actually a tree. It's beech. And if you listen regularly, you'll know when I did my profitability figures for the end of 2025 that beech and hazel were my most profitable stems. And that's because they were already in the field. So my cost of production figures were zero. And even when you take in the labor cost to go and cut some of the stems down, it still made them the most profitable. And they are wonderful. And I think I've already talked about hazel. So I thought tonight I'll talk about beech because I love beech, and the wedding and event florists that I work with also love beech. It is absolutely perfect for urns, arches, doorways, staircases, absolutely everywhere. It's probably not that useful if you're a grower who's doing bouquets in a market stall or in a stand on your property, or that's the line that you'd like to go down. I chose to do the wholesale to wedding and event florists, and they need big branches like this. Sometimes they want really, really huge branches as well. So this might not be something that you think, oh, I might go and buy some beech, because you might not be interested in selling it or be any use whatsoever. But I think it's been fantastic, and it's just lovely, and I love getting the loppers out and lopping these enormous branches off and sticking them in a bucket. And they're really, really super. So it is a long-term project if you don't already have a large, substantial beech or a whole load of them. I mean, I find the ones that are on the field are growing really quickly, but they would because they're big and they've been here for years, and they put a surprising amount of growth on. But if you're going to have to buy smaller ones, then it's obviously going to take them a while to get going. If you need to do it on a budget, like if I was going to go and buy any more, and I'm very, very tempted to actually, I'll be getting bare root ones, and you can get them from companies that sell hedging plants bare root. I mean, there's lots of sources that you could get them from, but I wouldn't go, me personally, because of my budget, I wouldn't go to even down to the wholesaler and buy them in a pot, because it is a much more expensive way of doing it. The cheapest way is to get them from hedging companies, and there are all sorts of different companies all around the world that just specialize in hedging plants, and you can get them bare root, and you can nearly always get them bare root all year round as well, which is really helpful. You don't have to wait for the bare root season like you do with roses. Not the case everywhere, but some places will do it. And again, they lift them up, they tie them all together with string or plastic, and you just get sort of a pile of twigs, really, but sometimes you get, little bits of foliage. They get away very, very quickly. I've planted some really lovely native deciduous hedges in the UK, and they are amazing. The results you get from them is fantastic. They're super cheap as well, for about a 40 to 60 centimetre bare root beech, less than £1 each, which is pretty awesome. So that is my plant profile of the week. I know it's quite brief because I thought, well, it's a tree, so I'm not going to tell you where it's from and everything. But super, super useful, and definitely available on a budget, and always useful to have some foliage, I think. And yeah, I love beech. It's really, really, I want to say it's a gentle tree. There are some trees that I don't know, just don't resonate with so much, but beech is one that I absolutely love. Now, one final thing before I go this evening. I've just made a recent discovery about adverts on Instagram. Now, I hate adverts, which is why there are no adverts on this podcast, because I can't stand them. I seem to spend most of my life trying to avoid or block adverts. Very irritating. And I just found out the other day that there's actually a way of getting rid of the adverts that you don't want on Instagram. You have to go into your profile settings. Anyway, Google it. There is a way of doing it. And you basically put in these keywords for the things that you don't want to be bombarded with adverts about. And you put all these keywords in and you save it, and then you start seeing less and less of those adverts. So Instagram obviously knows that I'm a perimenopausal woman. and they are obsessed with me buying collagen, and I'm not having any of it. And I'm sick to the back teeth of seeing adverts for collagen. So I have gone in and added all these keywords to do with collagen to my Instagram settings, and I'm finally having a break from collagen. What they're now giving me is seaweed hair treatments, gummies, and baked makeup. I mean, they just don't know me at all. So I'm gradually adding all of these products to my banned list of items. So if you get frustrated with Instagram, there is a way of doing that. So I hope you have a fantastic weekend. Please come back and join me on Tuesday for the next episode. And if you're waiting for rain like me, fingers crossed we get some. All the very best.